I don't even know if we're connected because we've been interrupted so many times. But anyway, I just wanted to say I had a slow start, and I'll do better tonight at 7 p.m. But and I've had to deal with a number of friends' personal problems, and everyone wants to blame everyone else. And it has a lot to do with what our son is doing. We are in you know a solar minimum, and that's why. I mean, it's people talking about global warming. I don't think so. Not when it's like not even winter. We're halfway through fall, and half of America is under a foot of snow at 9 degrees below zero. No, that I don't think that's what's going on. Is that our sun is kicking out particles and waveforms that are pushing us, not just pushing all our relations, not just human beings, into a very strange place, right? Now we can cave the challenge and be thrown back 900 years and live in, pig slime, like the Dark Ages, where the rich live this kind of elite, kind of in a bubble world, and that's kind of what they're planning for. That's why the disparagence of wealth is so mind-boggling. Never, even during the Gilded Age, it was never like this. And or we, all our relations, all my family here, all we have to do is be that little pebble in the pond. I was talking to a friend of mine who is, he is actually a channeler. He's realizing this, and I mean, he can call, the other side to come visit him. Now I not so much can call them, but they come around when I'm ready to talk to them and such. And I'm like I said, if I have any gift at all, it's to be in the right place at the right time, and know it and step up to that. I mean, that's kind of what this YouTube. I'm stepping up to it. I'm that little pebble. I'm throwing it out in the digital domain. It's not like all of the rest of my life where I was always kind of. Thanks for compliments earlier. I see life is going procession with the beloved forefront. Yep. We're in the forefront, right? Even though it doesn't seem like it. It's like our solar system is like out in the North 40. We're not on the main highway. But, for all of humanity's last 2,000 years of thinking we're the best thing since sliced bread, and now, we're starting to realize and we're out there. We're out there in a big way. Where do you think all those trillions of dollars, the day before 9/11, Rummy goes in front of the newspaper. Well, I don't really know, but it seems the Defense Department has misplaced $2.8 trillion. Where did that go? And Downey goes, I'm starting a Space Force. Well, that Space Force has been there since like 1890. We've been out there a long time. And all those movies like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall, that's because we're starting to recall what's going on, And, the face on Mars. So, it's like all there. All we got to do is step up to it, right? And what we need to do, we all have antennas. My family here, I can sense that all of you folks are genetically different than the rest of all our relations. We're all different. We're like a mixed cocktail, right? Everyone's got a little this, a little that. The healthiest of us all are mutts, not the purebreds. So all of those folks in the cartels who are purebreds, who are, reptiles or grays or tall northern Aryans. No, that's the most unhealthy. The purebreds are the most unhealthy. They only look for that purebred because they want to be able to feel okay about, you know, treating the rest of their relations like crap. It's like, you go to a Thanksgiving dinner and the richest guy who's brought the nicest food, he sits at the head of the table. And then the rest of the grown-ups sit at the table. And then the rest of the kids sit at the kids' table. And I was sitting at the kids' table, well, I wasn't really around, but even when I went back at 32, I ended up sitting at the kids' table because I wanted to, because the kids were actually way more interesting than my brothers and sisters and the grown-ups. So, because all they talked about was their job and their car and their house and their new shoes and blah, blah, blah. Where the kids were talking about, did you see that spaceman fly through the house yesterday? I said, really? Tell me about it. So, and everyone has that in them to see these things. They just, have disbelief. Oh, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that. I'm not. They call me crazy. Oh, I'm not seeing that. You have to suspend your disbelief to see what's going on. So, let's see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Yes, let's see. You're looking very Al. Yep, yep. And yeah, I'm always looking pretty Al. Because how else can I look? I'm trying to look like, some cut guy in a magazine. It's just me. I'm just happy being me. I don't need to. Meaning, tonight, I'm going to go looking through a couple other photo books. And I'm going to show you what I look like pushing 500 pounds, right? I was so big, so heavy, I was always sweating like a pig, It was like, it was, let's see, is there a picture of me in here? Oh, I think maybe. Yeah, I think there's one in here that will show, let's see. So this was chemtrails in 1976. Yes, they were doing it back then. Here's a rainbow gathering in 82. And all these people, these are people I've known for 40 or so years. I mean, all of these people. I know them really well. Sat around fires, had experiences, went hunting for drinking water, scouting. And here we are having a really good time. This is 4th of July, I think 85, right? And none of these people, see this woman? I knew her when she was a little girl in Lower East Side, and she is a New York Times photographer now. I don't know what she's now. This is like 83 or 4. Who knows what she's doing now? But I've known this young lady from the Lower East Side for 40 years. This is her brother who's kind of ecstatic, and this is a guy I know. I used to scout with this guy, and he's in another space and time. And here's Donna Ann, my first wife, and this is her second hubby. What's his name? And he always looked at me like, what am I getting myself into? Because I never was upset with these guys. You want to do that? Not a problem. Because I moved on. There's Inga, and there's her son's girlfriend from Germany. And so these are friends of mine. Oh, there's my godson. I helped deliver him. He's now like 20-something. So there I am. Right? This is my goddaughter's birthday. And these are all Asheville friends. Like, look at my hair. That's how it looked all the time. I sweated so much all the frigging time, right? And there's Monica. And here we kind of zip back to New York City. Here's Carlos Altamani. This is the Living Theater. There's Judith. And this was, 10 years, not 10 years, 6 years before Iran-Contra. And, we knew what was going on. And here is this group of people that I've been involved with for 50 years. We're always put a stage up. And this guy I've known forever, and he's a staging guy. I mean, he was in rock and roll, and he owns all this equipment. And he retired, and he kept all this instead of renting it out. Whenever anyone needed a PA or a stage, or getting a permit, he would do it. For whatever, for the anti this or the rights of that. And here was a abandoned building that we just kind of took over. This is in the Hispanic section, and this is a mural that we put up in hours. I'm a big fan of latex paint and masking tape, and you can. And this is like so I learned how to paint scenery, and so this stuff, my paintings were like scenery. From far away it looked pretty good. So here's Shoreham Nuclear Power Plant, and we stopped that. Here is the first NRA hearing that was forced because I made a film with my mother as a star. And here are the people of Shoreham who we educated, and they came out big time. We don't want to die. Once we showed them what was going to happen, we got, and because Shoreham, the Long Island Mining Company, paid everyone's taxes. So for the first 3 years, it was pretty hard to get those people on our side, But once we educated them, here is Marissa, St. Marissa, having her first infant child in an abandoned house. And me and two women delivered this baby in the abandoned building. And here's Paula. And this is, here's where I was a little skinnier. It's 36. The other picture was me at about 48. And here's our 6th Street garden, and we had a theater there. And I told you the story of Scar, and this is her. She went back to her family, and this is her after she's had a number of operations, and they rebuilt her face. She still had more operations to go. And here is Beth, my dancer co-creator. And there's a friend. This is outside of my house in Virginia. Here's me. Here's my second wife. This was at the 18th or 19th anniversary of Woodstock, and this was Woodstock, and it wasn't 500,000 people, but there were about a good 15,000. And this is my sweet Rita. And so this was one of my Rainbow fans. She was a ER nurse in Boston. She was, really good person to have by your side in a calamity. She and I were the only people who would stay calm. There's sweet Rita. She was just the best. So here are some women that I taught at a healing school. And so there I am. I am like bigger than all three of those girls put together. And you don't really see my full Gorgo-ness because a third of me is on the side of this young lady here. But these were all great ladies, great friends, and we had a great school. And they were all medical people. She was a doctor. These two girls were head nurses. And they got sick of the same old money grubbing modality, and we started the school. There's Anytime, Tim. He's one of my students. He's a good carpenter. And this is Helene and Eric and their daughter, Larry and Eric. There's my sweet Bella. These are all Asheville folk. So there I am in New York. in 2011 with my sweetie Patty. And I've known her at least 30 years, give or take. And there's a person who, we've never given up on each other, but we've changed and moved on and moved forward and always cared about each other and shared our lives. And, so there I am. And this guy used to be a New York Times reporter. And there's Suzanne. She and I started a thing called Art for the People, and we used to do Universal Peace Day. And here's Carlos doing a thing on top of a mural I made. This was our theater on 13th Street. And these were actually my photos that he took a picture of, saying, he never, he always took the credit for everything. That was his greatest talent. But he was pretty good at getting people to do stuff so he could take credit for it. And so you have to give him credit for that. And there's lovely Christine. This is a lady who basically gave us digital graphics. She's the one who was that little lamp, that's Pixar's logo. That was her PhD thesis out of Stanford. She was the first human being to render digitally in 3 dimensions. So all your video games, all the graphics you see on TV, you can thank this woman. And she went from there. She was another person who was amazing at moving forward, And we stayed friends until, I think she's on another universe in another dimension, because she was that kind of person. She was just... So these are the Mossad agents who were sent to kill me. And instead of them killing me, I made them my friends and invited them to move forward into a new world, because they always wanted to be artists. And so I let them hang out in places where the Mossad couldn't find them, until the Mossad gave up and sent somebody else. There's another picture of somebody else. And told them, don't worry about it. Just stay on the down low, and we'll forget it ever happened. And I had a lot of people in the 70s and 80s who passed on. And they passed on of AIDS and all other kinds of things connected to that. And in the 70s, when people would get sick, most of their families and everybody would give up on them. And I just never did. I made them happy till the day they died. Because, when you had AIDS, pretty much, you kind of stayed, but no one, it's like me with all the diabetes and neuropathy and all the things wrong with me. Yeah, people can't even tell, because I don't give up, and I just walk around, and I don't use a walker or leg braces, or go, oh, such pain. No, don't do that. Okay, let's see. Here's a good, this lady was truly amazing environmentalist from Sweden. And I guess that's that picture of me in Asheville. Like I said, where's that picture of me? And Asheville was fun. This was in Belshire when we first started it. And it was such a sweet little thing. It was on Haywood Street, and, and then it became, downtown development took it away and made it something that millions of people, they made lots of money on. So that was then. This is now. So, okay, we'll go back to me. So, okay, 20 minutes and 32 seconds. So, what are we doing? Did you meet Hawkwind? You mean at Rainbow Gatherings? Yeah. Barry, yep, who's Del Demeanor? And Cockney in BC. I did not hang in British Columbia or Canada. I mean, I passed through, but I never hung. And to meet people, you got to stay there for a month or two, right? Great guy. So, someone come and get me from Canada and take me to Canada. Let's tour Canada. I don't think right now we're going to have one heck of a winter. If you were to go to Oppenheimer Ranch, that guy who runs the site is probably one of the best weather folk I know, and he looks at everything. Space weather, Earth weather, earthquakes, volcanoes, and he always has a 411 on what's happening, like months, if not years before it. He's like me. He looks at trends that go deeper than what weathermen look at. Weathermen can't even get the weather right tomorrow, let alone what's going on. Let's see. Christine Barton. Yep. She got more PhDs than Carter has pills. Yes, that's the only way you can thwart things like that. I keep telling, I talk to a lot of you guys on the internet, on, Gmail, which you can get a hold of me at the dudeawake42 at Gmail. And you can get down. Hey, like I said, we're living in a crazy box. We're not, our world is not crazy. Our world is not mentally ill. And if all we have to do is reflect the love of co-creation, and like that, things would be fine. And there are people watching out for us because we have done so much stupid shit that we should be toast. But we're not. We're still here. We're still chugging along, trying to get out of the box, right? And the only thing you need to get out of the box is, as Buddha says, be awake. Wake up. I know. I just talked to John this morning, and he's trying to, when I came back, once it got cold about the beginning of this month, or really the middle of last month, end of October, end of October, I was here 2 weeks, and then he left maybe a week after I was here because I said, listen, John, you keep banging around, you're going to do that for the rest of your life. You have to go to your family and commit, right? And show that you want to be the father of your children. And so he's been there almost 3 weeks. And since I known him, he's tried to do this a number of times. And he would last 2 days. So he's been there 3 weeks. So he's truly committed. And I said, so I talked to him this morning. I said, listen, John, you have to talk to your ex and tell her, hey, I don't want to go back to what we had because that made you miserable, made me miserable. I want to go forward and not forget what we did in the past, but not let it hang us up, not stop us, not keep repeating the same thing over and over again. Don't you want to have a life, right? And so he said, okay, I'll tell her that. So he's going to do that. But I told him, because he's told me, so I've been talking to him a lot since he's there and giving him pep talks. And one of the things I really see is that he is a channeler. I mean, he doesn't realize that he's channeling, but all of that stuff, and I keep saying that he's the canary in the coal mine, he's channeling that. He's channeling Jimmy. He's channeling all these things as a funhouse mirror of what's kind of going on. So he really wants to do videos when he comes back, And I said, John, I'm up for it, but we have to, first off, I have to share in this, I have to be like co-executive producer. I have to be, and what I want to do is not have the camera on me and just tell me my stories. That's what my channel is for. No, what I want to do is help you to go into channel state and be like the new Edgar Cayce. See things, because he sees them all the time. He just thinks they're stupid or something popped into my mind. Yes, that's what's called channeling. And, I've worked with loads of people to help them navigate this. So I told him about it, and he's kind of excited. So you're right. If he and I can do that, now that should be interesting. And the fact that his channel's been around, I don't know, since as long as YouTube, he's got, 100 and something thousand, subscribers, viewers, whatever you call. I call you family. And I'm happy that it's slowly building up because every one of you is true blue, loving, great people. You know, you're not just talking about how my cap looks or my forehead or my, you know, you really are making comments of, insight, and that's what I want. And I'm getting used to this, and I'm trying to understand, because I'm a like hands-on, I like being with bodies, but I am with you guys. You're just on the other side of, the website there. So anyway, so yes, so John and I may come back with a roar. Let's see, we're in transition. Yeah, we are in a transition period. And again, you there, family of my adepts, we have we have the responsibility and potential to help all our relations come out on the other side of this and not in a mentally ill box, but in a good way. Because, like I'm telling you, my observation of all these trends that are coming together, that's why I'm doing this 40 days of 40 nights. This is a window, right? And and I'm looking at 2019 is definitely going to be a year of kind of, not the shit hitting the fan, but nothing can be hidden. Things, they talk about disclosure. Well, they've been disclosing for the last, since the LA lights, since 1942. So, yes, most important is the kids deserve a dad in their lives. Yep. It's good. And also, you are staying at John, and he is his family. That is wonderful. Yep. I'm staying warm, and I'm not like. It's really easy when you. That's all it took, like thin dollar drop cloth plastic over those windows because there's cracks between all that, and it's like, closed. There's no breezes coming in, and there's an air pocket of about that much between the glass and the plastic, and that's a thermopane window that cost me all of $1.90. I just used spray adhesive, and then just stuck it on there, and it comes right off when you want to take it off, but it stays nice and snug, and that's all it took to make this place warm. Not thousands of dollars of electric bills, just that. And the wood stove downstairs you see me light, once I get that sucker going, it heats this whole 2 floors up because it's all concrete. And once that concrete sinks in, it takes, maybe once I get it warmed up, it takes 4 or 5 logs every 2 or 3 hours to keep it, 65. It was 28 the other morning outside. It's a bit nippier up here in the mountains than it is downtown. So it's about 28 up here. And before I went to bed, I threw a couple logs in there, and it was 28 outside, and it was about 58 inside. Went down, threw a couple logs on the in the wood stove, and it got up to 62. And so I basically, have that nice little thin thing, and then I kind of put this up the stairs so the hot air doesn't go all the way into the coldness, the front door. And that's all it took, The wood stove downstairs. This is about what I use a day when it's really cold. So it doesn't take much to keep this place comfy. So. And usually when it's sunny and not raining and not icky out, I will go downtown to the library. Or I go visit folk who need visiting. And so that's my thing because, I've committed to do these YouTubes twice a day as much as I can in preparation of my family here to step up, to be the pebble in the pond, to make those little navigational changes, right? And at some point, anyone who wants to come and visit and take a road trip or take me back to their ranch, I'm up for it, and I'm up for, and that would be a new direction, amplifying a new chapter of the procession of forward movement of all our relations, right? So I'm not stuck in it has to be this way or that way. I'm kind of, when I was out there in the deep green, I mean, it was so beautiful and so nice and so nurturing, and the nature spirits were there, and the animal totems came out of the woods to hang with me. Who wouldn't want to share that? I was surrounded by berries. Every morning I just picked berries and added a little yogurt to it. Who wouldn't want to be that? Around in the forest with all these leafy greens on the forest floor that were like lettuce. And I pick them, wash them off, add seasonings, and that's what I ate. Who wouldn't want to live like that? And my space is big enough. It has about 20 nice secluded camp spots on my little green, and I got lots of camping gear left over from being cleanup guy at the rainbow gatherings. Rich people would come in with thousands of dollars of camp gear, set up nice. This one lady, she came in and she landed and she went into town and she got herself a number of Hispanics who she paid very well, and they had a truck, and they went and got a ton of camping gear, and they went off and got gas tanks, and she bought a big teepee, and she set up a teepee and tents around it, and put a gas fired fireplace in the middle of the teepee. And she had remote control, so she could just push a button and right, and she had them bring water from the spring down to her own little bathroom, where she had them dig a hole and put a toilet on top of it, a flush toilet. Everyone else is crapping into slit trenches, and she's crapping into a toilet. And she had a shower with hot water. This is a rich lady. And when she left, and she wrote a check to the Magic Hat, which is how we fund the gatherings. This guy named, he ran for president, Vermin Supreme. He and I were a stand-up comedy team, and we would stand up in, the dinner circle and tell jokes, and we'd have people going around with a magic hat and Vermin's boot, and we would raise anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 a night. And when you're, getting that kind of cash, you can feed a crew, 30,000 people. Especially when you're just making tofu and lentil soup. You can, and so we used to do it pretty good. So at cleanup, everyone would just leave. By the fifth day after 4th of July, 90% of everyone would be gone. All those rich people would just leave the stuff they bought there. They wouldn't take it back home. They'd just get on their private jet and fly away. And the guys she hired, she paid to stick and help, truck things away to the dump and stuff like that, which was very nice. But, like I said, I got lots of tents, lots of sleeping bags, lots of everything. So whoever comes next summer to the Deep Green, you got everything you need to make a nice little campsite that would be yours and special and private, but it's Cadillac camping. I got a bathroom, I got electricity, I got water, I got all, that makes, I got this beautiful little garage that, it's about 900 square feet. And that's, one of the places I stay in. And next time I build a real house, I'm going to use garage doors, because there's nothing like being able to lift open one wall of your house to the outdoors. And I have that going over the roof line goes way over that. And so the little garage is 900 square feet, but the deck that's attached to it is 1,200, and the roof line goes halfway over that. So anyway, so it's a really beautiful spot. And, that's why I kept inviting you guys, because I love to share what I have with others. And I had a lot of that because I'm not that far from the Appalachian Trail, so a lot of people would kind of come visit. So it's now 36 minutes and 27 seconds. So I think at 37 minutes and 37 seconds, I will say good night, Gracie. And I'll see you guys tonight at 7. Let's see what you got to say here. John deserves, yep. And most important is kids, yep. Well, that's good. And staying a judge, yep, wonderful. So, well, that's John's thing. Brother of Germany leader, Labour Party, predicted the weather by solar flares for years with astounding accuracy. Yep, this is true. That's me, always sexy, baby. Mr. Macho, did you ever hear Gil Scott Heron's song, Mr. Macho? I did a little YouTube earlier on about that. And you could go. You guys should, start at the end and move to the forward. There's lots of stuff there. I mean, I've been doing lots of these things just to put them there because I may not have the wherewithal to do them. When I was at Deep Green, I couldn't do things but maybe one a week. Yes, the disclosure movement is a distraction. Very true. Because they're slowly, the that article in the New York Times saying that the Pentagon is spending $27 million studying alien life. And that's kind of a disclosure. They're just a little skittish about telling everyone about all the money that they've spent and that they've hijacked about 20 million people and put them on asteroids as slaves. They're a little skittish about that. But that's why they had that movie, Total Recall. Okay, John is sure. No, see, no one's seen the error in their ways because they're not awake yet. And that's kind of why I want to do this kind of channeling thing with John so he can see for himself, Now, I've been able to, he's a Libra, and when Libra's out of balance, so I've been able to help him get some balance, but he has to go further so he can keep that balance. And that's everybody. Everybody has that moment of going out of balance and having to keep that balance. Let's see. Convinced they've been priming the public for years. Any rival will be from nowhere but here. Yep. Loads of holographs. I mean, that's what 9/11 was. One big holograph. I haven't heard what Al said, just got here. Well, been saying a lot. Go back and look at it because I'm about to jump off soon. Let's see. Conscious Research Channel. Yes, go to Conscious Research Channel. Twitchy is, he's the real deal. His videos are quite extraordinary. We love you, John. We love you. You see the next comment? Love you, buddy. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, it's really one of the nicer things, having able to lift one whole wall of your house and have it open to the outside. Well, the California fires are, first of all, it's been a drought there for 20 years. Um, if you go, if you really want to, there are a lot of people on the YouTube who have really good insights. And one of them is that Oppenheimer Ranch guy. He's really a good weather guy. So there are things happening in space that are affecting this. And, Donald Trump's tweet yesterday blaming the people of California for these fires. I don't think so, And a lot of the fires are pretty obviously caused. And I mean, that one, the fires now that are in Malibu, these are urban residential areas. They're not in the middle of a forest. There isn't a ton of fuel, but the houses are burning to crisp, meaning they look like they're being microwaved. So it looks like someone has got their space-based weapon focused on California, and I think it's a political mechanism because it's going to force all the insurance companies to leave California on every level. I mean, it's going to force them property insurance, health insurance, you name it. So California, within 6 months, will be without insurance, which will bankrupt California completely, meaning the state won't be able to get insurance. All of the retirement funds won't be able to get insurance. The hospitals won't get insurance, so they'll have to close. So there will be no medical care, no insurance. The banking systems will just unplug and leave California. So seeing that California is like the seventh largest economy in the world, if they go bankrupt, I would say the world will tumble right after it. And part of it will come from Russia and Saudi Arabia, and all of OPEC is in the background, engineering another oil embargo. Because, oil is actually quite cheap because there's a glut of it, right? And America won't be able to feed itself on the fracked crap that they have. No. I mean, because fracking costs more than what they get for the oil. So, and if oil goes to 200 a barrel, which I think it will in the next 6 months, first off, the American dollar will stop being the petrodollar. So our dollar will be worthless, and no one will take treasury notes. I mean, for the since Nixon went off the gold standard, the United States has been getting stuff from the rest of the world for nothing, for giving them treasury notes. China has half our treasury notes. Now, what are they going to do with that? Are they just going to bite the bullet and just say, okay? And the other side of the coin of China is that they are, Nixon and Henry Kissinger were such tricky mothers because they invited China into the world of economics, of greed, and so China's economy has to grow by 6% every quarter, or they collapse, right? And the only way they can do that is by selling us crap that we buy at the dollar store, right? But if they say, hey, we're not taking your treasury notes anymore, well, that means we won't be buying any more crap from them, and their economy, they will crash. And they are way worse off because, we've been around 200 something years, and we're used to this craziness that we go through. It's like a cycle. It's been doing it since Christopher Columbus got here, so we're used to it. Yes, it'll be a little nasty this time, and unless we hang together, as Franklin said, we'll hang separately. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Somebody is barbecuing California to bankrupt it. Seventh largest economy in the world. It'll collapse the rest of the world. The oil guys will, at the same time, do, okay, we're closing everything down, so oil will be $200 a barrel. All of this, in the short term, is going to be a wild, crazy ride, but in the little longer term than now, it'll be good because it'll cause all of the technology that is up and running, robust, 0-point energy, instantaneous manufacturing of anything. All of what what's his name had in Star Trek. What he saw in the TV show. He was telling the American public, "Hey, we got this, and we can go to this anytime we want. So wake up, kids." What was that guy's name? I always forget his name. But the creator of Star Trek, and his the little communicator was a dang flip phone. So, and they kept making more Star Treks, Next Generation, all et al, just to keep that idea of, hey, this is what really is, kids. Just step up to it. So there's going to be this unbelievable, and that's why we got Donald Trump, because he is the perfect man. When catastrophe hits, he's going to double down, just like the fires, instead of saying, "Oh, we're really there for you guys. We're going to help you out." No, he says, "California, it's your fault. Deal with it." A matter of fact, I'm going to start suing you because you're saying bad things about me. Come on, really? So we have to double down on our sense of humor. I was talking about when the monsters show up, you have to tell the monsters, how does a monster screw in a light bulb? Well, they can't, because they see each other, or how many monsters does it take to screw in a light bulb? There aren't any. You just have to tell jokes. You have to make fun. You have to make people smile and laugh. You have to get people out of being stuck. Okay? What is what you want, John, but is that what they want? Just asking. What did Johnny Boy say? And John, again, it's not, John represents a certain characteristic in us all. I want what I want. I mean, he's like Donald Trump. I want what I want. The best way to deal with Donald Trump is everyone in America who wants to have a march, who wants to resist. They should all put money into making Donald Trump blimps. Not gigantic ones, one that you'll find somebody who has weather balloons. Like, I used to do this. I used to go to the Army Navy store and get weather balloons and a couple of tanks of helium, and I would tie them together and get these nets or big parachutes, and I would sculpt a creature or a dove. Like, I remember at Universal Peace Day, I sculpted a dove, right? And I had all of these, it attached to all these weather balloons attached to a small tree. And I at that time, I was in the disco world. I was using a lot of Mylar. So I had reams and reams and just miles of Mylar. And Mylar was invented to be chaff, meaning really super reflective to radar, right? So I would cut these long streamers, like 20 yards long, 4 inches wide, and I would hot glue them to the tail of the dove. So at the height of Universal Peace Day, which was carried every Nagasaki Day, and my sensei came, and then when he got to a point where he couldn't, monks from his ashram in Japan would come, and that's where the peace pole came from. Anyway, so at the height of this, I was going to set this dove loose, right? And I had a little, not trebuchet, but a little springy thing to get it up over the crowd. Well, those, I didn't calculate quite right. And the helium balloons were stronger than I realized, and they ripped the tree out of the ground with the dove and the balloons, and everything took off and like shot across the crowd. There were about maybe 5,000 people at that. The big crowd hadn't really shown up. It was still quite early. The show hadn't started, but the dove was kind of floating there about 15, 20 feet attached to a tree, and everyone could see the Mylar flutting around, and it kind of broke loose and shot across the crowd and went straight down Fifth Avenue. And luckily, didn't hit anything because, the dove I sculpted out of styrofoam was as big as a bread truck. And it shot out over the East River into Queens, into the flight path of Kennedy and Newark airports. And basically, luckily, no one figured that one out where it came from. But someone said that it was like a UFO. It looked like a dove flew across. So more of my, creative, cultural art. I mean, those are kind of things I did in New York for 25 years, stuff like that. You know. But I would never take credit for it because I didn't want to get arrested. But everyone who knew me and knew the scene is, well, Al did it again. But the bottom line is that I never did anything with a preconceived notion of an outcome. All I did was try to make people happy, as many as I could at a single. People who I guess don't like the stories. But, as a friend of mine used to say, fuck them or frack them. So, but should really yes, you should. 22 years in Tipperary. If I could pick it up in a couple of weeks. And, the thing of it is open your ears and close your mouth. And the other thing, my little brain works, I keep going on about spelling being a spell. And why I'm real particular about the words I use because of where they come from. So I don't use the word Lord or God, because Lord means Satan, and God means demon in Sumerian. So that's why the closest thing, I'm all about, love's one love. That's the great creator of co-creation. Let's see. Don't speak it either. Very limited. It's a difficult language to speak. Well, you, Martin, growing up in Canada, you learned French. Yes. My grandmother used to call me Wuziao. In her mountain vernacular, that meant little devil. And she would always say it with great affection. And my godfather, Cardinal Cushing, he basically said the same thing. He said I was a good devil. And when I nearly wrecked the Catholic place I went to become a priest, he said that was a good thing. It needed shaking up. But he got my ass. I said, I got to get you out of here before, your father won't get you out of here, so I have to get you out of here before they murder you. Those Jesuits. He didn't like Jesuits. And the only real way you can pick up languages is, so I've traveled all over the place, and I was a anthropologist that lived with people. An anthropologist, or a true anthropologist, where they take off their clothes and put on the grass skirt, right? And the tribe invites you in. That's a real anthropologist, and that's what St. Patrick did, and that's why he killed all the snakes. And the snakes were the bards and the druids, and the Celts and the crones. Those are the snakes he was talking about, and turned it into a Roman outpost that they had kept murdering. Braveheart is a good example of what, because England was just an extraction of the Roman Empire. Alberta, beautiful place. Like I said, anybody in Canada who wants to adopt me, I'll go there in the spring, because this winter, you kids are going to have one heck of a winter. We are too. The whole East Coast is going to get, I'm going to say obliterated, but have some of the most amazing, crazy weather. And the folks like here and in the deep green, where where we are on the Blue Ridge, but just across the valley from us is the Appalachian. So we either get the most crazy weather straight down the bowling alley and take us out, or 90%, 95% of the time it bounces off the mountains and goes by us or above us. And hopefully that's what this winter will be. Because it's been cold, but all around us, a little further north, it's like they're having, feet of snow and ridiculously cold. Here it's like, 45 during the day. I can live with 45. I can live with 39 at night, just not 9. Where it's just, 100 miles north of us, it's like in the teens during the day. And they're not really advertising this. It's not on, unless you're there, you're not seeing it. And that's why I'm saying go to Oppenheimer Ranch because those weather guys there, they're funny, they're really knowledgeable, they really give the 411 about everything going on. So, yeah, I guess it's 57 minutes and 13 seconds, so I'm going to wait till 1 hour straight up, and I'll say goodnight, Gracie. What else are you guys saying? Okay. So, guys, observing each other, we have to bring the best out of each other. That's what a family does. And what is the title of this thing? It's like, we're in a mentally ill box. And, when people go to their Thanksgiving dinners, they basically glare at their family across the turkey. And that's the worst thing you can do. Eat anything with bad vibes, meaning why the dumpster restaurants I had all over were always amazingly successful is because I cooked everything with love. And I did everything to make people who would come in my door happy, which make me happy. So, anyway, 58 minutes and 18 seconds. So what else are you guys saying? Anything? So what other, let's see. Shrugged with a breakaway civilization. Guy's reaction to humanity's consciousness has become a reality. God bless America. Yep. I go with that, Jamie. Everybody here always brings the best out of each of us. I never see anybody dissing anybody. Yep, scalar weapon, because I was an apprentice electrician on the towers. I knew what went into those floors. They were 4 foot thick of steel and concrete. The outside walls were impenetrable. Those airplanes shouldn't have been able to even get in the building because aircraft are like thermos bottles. There are no real structural anything. Plus, those airplanes allegedly were going around 580 miles an hour. Well, they physically can't do it. They're designed to do that speed way up 30,000 feet up in the air where the air is really thin. Down at the deck where the air is really thick, the friction on those airplanes wouldn't let them go more than 300 miles an hour. So, all you have to do is go to Architects and Engineers 9/11 Truth, because that's who this big group of architects and engineers looked at it scientifically, and not scientific science like religion. Global warming is a religion. It's not really science. Now, if they were to say global weather catastrophe, now that would be right, but it's not just because of carbon. The only real carbon we have to worry about is the 666. Us. We are carbon-based creatures. 9 protons, 9 electrons, 9 neutrons. 666. Yeah, cryptocurrency. Woo, that's going to be a roller coaster ride, that's for sure. Because it's going to take, if we were to go to cryptocurrency as our base economy, it would take more than 3/4 of all the electricity generated in the world. Because cryptocurrency, what is it? It's a bunch of servers doing computations, right? So right now, cryptocurrency in the United States is using up 1/6 of all the electricity in the United States. Oh, we've gone past an hour. 1 hour, 1 minute, and 8 seconds. So, let's see. Judy Woods video shows. Yep. Yes. So what happened? We'll just keep talking. We got 12, 13 people. Come on, let's get above 20. So the bottom line about the buildings falling as fast as they did. So think of a hammer and you're driving in a nail, right? Well, when you hit that, unless you were like the Hulk, if you hit that nail, you have to hit it again and again and again and again. And if the floor fell, it would have to jump up and hit the floor again and again and again until it fell, right? But those buildings fell at the speed of, just dropping, free fall. And the only way that could happen is that the floors below it were already dust, having no resistance. And so the only way that is with a fourth generation nuclear weapon. Generation was the Hiroshima type bomb. Second generation was a hydrogen bomb. Third generation was a neutron bomb. And the fourth generation is like the bunker buster bomb or designer, bombs that do specific things, can have the controlled explosive force of 20,000 tons of dynamite, but doesn't give off, particle radiation, fallout. Or can give super high gamma and kill everyone within 50 miles and have some destruction, but leave most of it without fallout, right? That's fourth generation weapons. And that's the stuff that Donnie wants to build because he wants to be able to have nuclear war without having mutual assured destruction. And Putin's going for it too. So not just reinforced steel joints. These floors were 4 foot thick of mats of rebar, which were that thick, 5-6 mats, poured concrete, pre-stressed, and the center core was like a skyscraper inside a skyscraper. The thing about the World Trade Center is that every floor, most steel concrete buildings have beams all over the place, holding the next floor up. No, this one didn't. The floors held the building up. And that's because the center core, where the elevators were, there were 24 steel beams as thick as a bus, like 6 feet this way. And, the steel was like 40 inches thick. I mean, even if the floors fell down, that center core should have never, it wasn't like steel studs and sheetrock, which is what they're saying it was like. No, it was, a skyscraper within a skyscraper. And that's what held the building up. And the outside walls were these box beams that were like 20 inches by 20 inches. And then they were manufactured off site. They were brought up by cranes, stuck, and they were whole chunks of the wall, not just one beam, integrated things. And they were staggered off of each other. And once they were first bolted, then welded, then rebar was put down, and then concrete poured into that. And the floors not only had this rebar and steel connecting, but they had the kind of aircraft cable that holds up the George Washington Bridge woven through the whole thing, and they would squeeze it and then pour the concrete and let it go. And that's called a pre-stressed concrete pour, which makes the concrete a zillion times stronger than the steel. And these floors were 4 foot thick. No way. So even if the floor came down, it would have bounce, bounce, bounce like a hammer hitting that nail before. So it would have taken, if the buildings fell the way Nest said it did, because the 9/11 Commission only went to the National Bureau of Standards of Measures, right? No other engineering group, no other scientific group, no national laboratories, nobody, because all of those scientists said, oh, this is impossible. This had to be taken down, and we want to investigate it. But they took I used to be a fireman, an EMS guy, and I was part of, many accidents and fires and crashes, and every one was investigated scientifically by the CSI guys to say exactly how this happened, how that car hit that truck or this plane hit this. Every single one was World Trade Center was not done that way. Yes, in seconds. And that can only happen with a scalar weapon. So the thing was hit by a scalar weapon. There was a fourth generation nuclear weapon delivered by Israel. And the like, oh, look over here at this. The distraction was the airplanes. And who allegedly was flying them? But 19 guys from Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia and Israel are like in like Flint, kissing cousins, right? And that's because Israel is not full of Jewish people. It's full of Zionists. There's a big difference. A Zionist came from the Anunnaki. There's the 12 tribes of the Hebrews. Anunnaki isn't one of them. They are the KM, right? They are this mob that were like berserkers in the 3rd century. So I give you a bunch of things to look up, gang. Again, don't ever believe me. I am just your Sensei Al Bob. I'm just here for a good time. I'm just a Woozy Al, little devil, But I'm here to help everyone in all our relations to get a grip, because in the next 40 days, shit's going to have to pan, and it won't be the end of times. All those people, oh, it's the end of times. Not really. They ain't coming. Someone asked Jesus, so when's the end of times, Jesus? He goes, I have no idea. It's not in my pay grade, As far as I know, never. Because we are in a deluded illusion. This material world doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is love. And why Jesus, Buddha, and Vishnu, and cats like them are so important. They are the physical representation in the ugly bag of water of this unconditional forgiveness of love's co-creation. So that's why John's kind of important, because if he can get a hold of that and not always go, oh, my life is so terrible, oh, it's all about me. And when he says that, it's not John saying that. It's the insane box that he was placed in. And hopefully, what I want to do is videos with John, and I will use my skills to help John. I'm going to put John, it's not going to be like this, a picture of me talking to you. It's going to be John in the frame. And I'm going to be the voice outside the frame, helping John channel, see, awake. When I get John awake, the world will change. Okay, gang. It's 1 hour and 9 minutes. We could be talking here forever. So I'm going to tell you that I love you all, and see you tonight, 7 p.m. Be there, be square. And all the stuff we talked about today, go back and look at this video. It's only 1 hour and 9 minutes and soon to be 10 minutes. And take some notes and basically go a little Googling and see what things you want to talk about, more specific, right? And you've dropped some real good specific things. And so we do more of that, right? And I'll start off reading this month's notebook of things that have popped in my head. Okay, I'm out of here. Love you all.